Hey, welcome into the Stinkin Truth Podcast. I am Mark Schlarth alongside my co-host Mike Evans, who apparently Kirk Cousins' wife got you dressed today. Did she? Is that from the Cousins collection? Did you get that at J.C. Penney's or what?
Yes.
That is beautiful.
This is like,
what is that, velvet? This is beautiful.
This is Kirk Cousins' top-selling item on his line.
I should say so.
You know, it's funny now that you mentioned this. I did when I first saw this shirt and put it on. I had just seen a picture of Cousins reporting to camp.
Yes,
wearing a shirt like this.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't be surprised that you picked up on that and are busting my chops over it.
That's because I watched the first episode of Quarterback on Netflix.
What do you think about that?
I think I always have a little bit of problem. I think first and foremost, not a little problem. I shouldn't say there. I'm so negative. I'm just always kind of on the negative side of things, and I apologize for that. I guess I don't have a problem, but like I know how difficult playing is, and I know what you put yourself through, and I know the work required to be really good. Like I understand that. So when I watch it, I'm just like, yeah, okay, that's what you do, right? That's the kind of effort you have to give. That's the kind of workload you have to have. That's the kind of memorization and kind of, all that stuff. So it's not surprising to me. It's like Hard Knocks. Like Hard Knocks it was never one of those things I was like, oh, I got to watch Hard Knocks because look what these guys do. Like, I know what you do. I think I look at it from more of the production side, having been in television for 20 some odd years, of the ability to go and grab stuff from the FS1, grab stuff from, ESPN, grab the sound bites, do all that stuff, and then piecemeal all these individual things together to tell a story. Like the production side of it and the editing side of it and what they have created, I think that's the mastery to me.
Can you appreciate, though, the appeal of it for people like myself, fans like myself,
Sure.
fans like everyone out there watching? Because one thing I've learned over many, many years of covering sports, what fans love is the idea of having that curtain pulled back,
right?
And we get a chance to look behind the curtain at what goes on behind the scenes, and it goes way beyond just what we watch on a Sunday or a Thursday night or a Monday night. We get a chance to really peel back that curtain and see what happens with these guys, how they are, how they live, what they talk about, all that inside information that I think fans crave. So I understand why, especially since you're talking about quarterbacks,
right?
The most important position in all of sports. Sorry, left guards, but you can see the fascination behind it, I think.
Yeah, you're always the most important until the left guard doesn't do his job. You take one of the teeth, right? Because you can't do your job unless I do my job.
Actually, they can.
No, they can't. Plus, the other thing that annoys me about quarterbacks, since we're on the topic of things.
We're in the truth tree.
Right. It's the hardest. Like Peyton Manning comes on before, he gives his kind of introduction to the series because it's, anything Peyton touches, it's like he's got the Midas touch, right? And everybody, ooh, it's Peyton Manning, ooh, he's amazing. And, it's all like, oh, I'm biased, but it's the hardest position in all. And I'm like, oh, my God. Right? Hey, man, if the flat route's covered, the flat defender has outside leverage, throw it to the curl. Ooh, throw it where there's not. The guy, if this guy's covered, that means that guy's open. Like, hey, if the post safety plays deep, throw the basic. If the post safety plays up, throw the post. Woo, it's really that difficult. Anybody could play that game.
So you're saying that if you weren't so incredibly yoked and you were just a mere mortal at 6'2", 195 pounds, you could have played quarterback.
There's no question I could have played quarterback. I was actually quarterback when I started. I played for the boys club.
How old?
My first team.
How old were you?
I started playing football when I was 12.
Oh, so you were a quarterback when you were 12, and you took that extensive knowledge of being a 12-year-old quarterback, and it now makes you believe that if things had turned out differently, you could have been an NFL quarterback because it's actually not that hard of a position to play.
Here's what happened. Okay, let me just give you this. So this should end the controversy once and for all. So I was, obviously I grew up in Alaska. I was the fastest kid, the most athletic kid. Yeah, I'm not bragging. It's just fact. So I had all those things going for me and instantly became the quarterback of my 12-year-old team. Felt pretty good. Felt pretty proud that, I was going to be the next Terry Bradshaw. And then O-line tryouts came out. And I also happened to be one of the bigger kids and one of the stronger kids. And, my dad told me when I started playing football, he had 2 rules for me. He said, 1, once you start, you can't quit. And 2, whatever they ask you to do it to the best of your ability.
Great advice.
Great advice, right? So I'm the starting quarterback, and we can't find anybody to snap the ball to the quarterbacks. Like we can't the center quarterback exchange, which is imperative to actually starting the play, right? We couldn't create a center, quarterback exchange because nobody could snap the ball. So my coach, Binky Stanley,
Binky. Coach Binky Stanley.
Coach Bink.
Oh.
Said, hey, man, would you snap the ball to our backup quarterback, his little brother, Timmy Stanley? And
Binky and Timmy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I got down on the line of scrimmage and remember what my father told me, be the snapped it right up there, snapped it up there again. We could execute a play, and I went from the starting quarterback of that team to the starting center without ever actually playing a game of quarterback.
So,
yeah.
Who would you say your quarterback style best, compared to from today's quarterbacks? Are you more of a,
big arm, unbelievable athletic, tall. Yeah, I was Josh Allen. I was the Josh Allen of 12-year-olds in Alaska that never actually got to play.
Right.
Dude, I went home and I had one of them like snot bubble cries, because you just like it's unfair, I was the quarterback and now I'm playing offensive line. And then, my mom calmed me down. Then my dad came home. I started crying again, and I wanted to quit. And poolside, my father, God bless him, he's like, listen, man, you made me a promise. When I said you could play football, you're going to give your best effort. I'm proud of you for doing that. And he goes, and then he said, and you made me promise you wouldn't quit. So you got to stick it out. Now, the moral of the story is, I went on to play center in high school, went on to get a scholarship to play center at the University of Idaho, got drafted as a center to the Washington Redskins, ended up playing 12 years in the NFL, which I probably played 18 if I'd have stuck at quarterback and been in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. That's what I would imagine.
But the NFL career that you ended up having is all thanks to Binky Stanley.
To Bink. Binky, thank you, Bink.
The Binkster. This one's for you.
I watched. Do
you remember the name of your team, by the way?
We were the Service-Side Cougars. Not lady cougars, like not that kind of cougar, like scary cougar. Well, that's a good point. It is a good point. Yeah, Binky. I actually watched the Super Bowl at Binky's house a couple of years ago.
No kidding.
Yeah, between Seattle and the Patriots.
Yeah.
I watched the Super Bowl at Binky. He lives in Arizona.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is, wow.
Small world, right?
I had a whole
you had a whole list of things to talk about,
and that's gone. So, by the way, the success of the quarterback series on Netflix has been so popular that they've already agreed to season 2, and we know who the quarterbacks are going to be in season 2. Josh Allen, okay. Aaron Rodgers.
Oh my gosh.
And Daniel Jones.
Ooh, that's going to be a tough sell. That one's going to be like watching paint dry.
Daniel Jones?
Yeah.
No, not that interesting.
Oh, not in a meeting, he's not. I mean, Daniel Jones is a really nice kid. Don't get me wrong. And all of his teammates talk about his drive and how like competitive he is and all that stuff. But when you meet with him, it is probably one of the boringest meetings you'll ever have. Rodgers intrigues me because, who knows what kind of, ghee butter enema he's going to have on camera, feet in the stirrups. Like, that'll be interesting to watch. And then Josh Allen, I did an event with Josh Allen, and you want to talk about a dude. Like, Josh Allen's a dude, man.
Right.
Smart, funny, flips you grief. Like, those two really intrigue me. Daniel, maybe we'll learn something about Daniel Jones. Maybe he won't be as boring. Maybe he's just, that's an act. Maybe that's an act. Could be.
The running back Zoom meeting.
Oh, my Lord.
I couldn't wait to talk about this one.
Okay.
So we had the Zoom meeting the other day, put together by the Chargers' Austin Eckler.
Right.
And the idea was, hey, what are we going to do as running backs? We take a beating. We put up big numbers. We're very important to our team's offenses. In some cases, our offenses are built around us as running backs. But when it comes time to getting paid more and more, these running backs aren't getting paid. And running backs don't know what to do about it. They had this Zoom meeting. Nick Chubb came out of the meeting and said, I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't know what we can really do. Saquon Barkley ended up taking a one-year deal worth upwards of about $11-12 million. Where do running backs go from here?
Oh, I mean, what can they do? Like seriously, like we're going to have this is a Zoom meeting. It's a bitch fest meeting. We're just going to bitch about how bad we've got it. One thing that'll never happen. First and foremost, let me just say this: you guys agreed to it in the collective bargaining agreement, right? The things that,
agreed to what?
Agreed to the fact that there's a franchise tag. Agreed to the fact that this is the deal we've gotten, and you are a diminishing commodity, and your position reaches its peak at about 27 years old, and after 30, you guys get kicked to the curb. So why would any owner that has these parameters that you've agreed to, why would any owner go, you know what? I realize that the shelf life of the running back is far limited to the quarterback, to the wide receiver, to the safety, to the offensive lineman, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to shatter the mold, and we're going to pay you more than we should. Then that's just bad business. And you agreed to it. Like the fact that we as players, and I put myself in this because I'm part of the problem, but the fact that we as players agree, like we don't ever get what we want, but the owners understand that 80% of the players, are short-time employees that aren't amassing enough money and haven't saved enough money to survive a long-term holdout or a long-term lockout. So they know that the majority of players are going to go, what are you giving us? Less practice time? We'll take it. I mean, it's like Kramer, when he got burnt by the coffee. Was it the coffee where they offered him free coffee? I'll take it. It's like that's what we do as players. We're idiots. Like we negotiate things that don't matter, and the owners act like, ooh, I don't know, we can give up less practice time. That's really going to hurt us. I refuse. Okay, we'll take it. I mean, it's silliness to me. And so what are you going to do? You're going to get on a big Zoom call and everybody's going to bitch about how bad we got it? The one thing I know about playing in the NFL is if you bypass money, you will never make it back. Mm-hmm. So all these running backs that are going to stomp their feet and do all, this is wrong. They're all going to show up eventually to camp and they're all going to play because you're going to walk away from $10.1 million if you're Josh Jacobs. You know what? You will never, ever, ever, ever make that money back. It's gone. And once it's gone for good.
Are running backs important, though?
Absolutely, they're important. There's no question. Like Saquon Barkley.
So has their value or has their role been devalued at all?
Absolutely, it's been devalued.
Why?
Well, because I think that ultimately it's probably, and running backs are going to hate to hear this, but it's probably the one position that you go from college to the NFL and it transitions. Like if you can read holes and you can see what's in front of you and you can make the proper cuts and you've got some toughness and you run with some toughness between the tackles, you're going to play and you're probably going to start. And so it's that one position where the learning curve is probably less than every other position in football. And then the beating you take, I mean, it's not that you're taking huge hits. It's that every time you run the ball, there's 7 guys that fall on top of you, and you do take some hits, and you do take that punishment. Think about Saquon Barkley. He signs the $10.1 million tender or whatever it is for the franchise tag, and they agreed to some incentives. It's another $1 million, okay? So it's $11.1 million. And I don't know if there were some handshake, wink, wink guarantees that we're not going to franchise you again. Maybe there was. I don't know. But the bottom line, he was about 35-40% of the Giants' offense. I did a Giants game against Jacksonville. I had a great, Brian Dable's a friend of mine. Like, we had a great meeting. And all the New York papers, like you always get these articles, right? About all these articles. And all the New York papers were talking about, hey, Brian Daboll's and Mike Kafka's unbelievable adjustments at halftime. And that's what's, really saved the Giants. And the Giants are just this, that, and the other. And so, I walk into this meeting and go, okay, tell me about your halftime adjustments because, I'm not seeing it on film. So tell me what you guys are doing differently. What's the halftime? And he goes, I sit down with Mike Kafka, my offensive coordinator, I say, hand it to 26 as much as you can. And then when you don't hand it to 26, throw it to 26 as much as you can. So he goes, we don't make one halftime adjustment. Our halftime adjustment is to give it to 26 as much as possible. He's probably 35, 40% of the offense for crying out loud last year. Him and Daniel Jones running around. So, is he valuable? Yeah. And I understand that they're upset about it. I get it. But you know what? We as a collective group, as a player association, we don't do shit to avoid it. You really want to be like, who should really be pissed at us as players is the rookies coming in, because we've limited the amount of money they can make for this foist of, hey, if we limit the amount of money they can make, they'll pass it on to the veterans. I used to go to this bar when I was in Alaska called Chilkoot Charlie's. Their motto, you can buy a T-shirt, Chilkoot Charlie's, where we cheat the other guy and pass the savings on to you. You think the owners, billionaires, are going to go, well, we saved $100 million on rookies' wages, so let's just give it to the rest. Let's just distribute it evenly to everybody else. No. They'll distribute it to the quarterback, and then they'll pocket the rest, because that's how they work. And we're stupid enough to fall for it. So I don't have a lot of empathy, because we put ourselves in this position as players because we negotiate and we bargain for things that don't matter. Less practice time. You're basically you know what less practice time does? It creates even a wider division between the haves and the have-nots. You know why? Because why would I play a middling player, big money, an average player, big money, whose skill set is now diminishing, who has never really become proficient at professional football, when I can pay a rookie the rookie wage scale, who's at least ascending as an athlete, but he's got about the same skill level, maybe a little bit less, but at least he's ascending. The other guy's going down. So why would I pay $5 million to that guy when I can pay $750,000 to this guy? So we'll just bounce that guy out of the league. You didn't think that was going to happen? Of course it's going to. I told the Players Association when they did the last collective bargaining agreement, everything I told them that was going to happen has happened. But you know what? But less practice time. So I become less skilled as a football player? And then when I've got 8 years in the league, they go, yeah, we don't really need you. We'll take the rookie instead. We're so stupid. We're so stupid. And then we're going to complain about where were all the running backs when they were making the fullback extinct? Did they have a Zoom meeting for the running backs going, we have got to stop this atrocity. This is unbelievable. My fullback is being. No, they were like, well, at least I'm getting mine. So I don't want to hear it. Hey, Austin Eckler should put a Zoom call together with the Chargers to see exactly how they can quit choking games away and losing 27-point leads or giving up 27-point leads to Jacksonville.
Isn't it kind of ironic that a Zoom meeting in which Nick Chubb comes out of it and says, I don't know, at the end of the day, what are we going to do?
Right.
And he's surprised that was put together by a Charger.
Yeah. Right.
Charger's going to Charger.
Yeah, right. We want to put together a Zoom meeting where we'll accomplish absolutely nothing. Boom. That's the Charger way. Oh, gosh. I hope I don't get any Charger games.
Yeah. Man. Well, all right. Charger fans, we love you. Hey, you still got Justin Herbert, so life ain't that bad.
Yeah.
Let's talk gambling. We here in Denver saw it come home to the home front here as Ini Owuka, let's try that again.
Okay.
Ini Owuzo. Wow. I said it all during the radio show, no problem. Now I can't say it. Ini Uwazurike.
Uwazurike.
Yeah, you go.
Uwazurike.
We're going to go with that one.
Yeah, Uwazurike.
Can we edit everything else out?
Yeah. Yeah.
that was
I like
Kevin
it.
Harlan
Just keep
trying
it
to
in.
say Albert Okawebanon, but love you, Kevin. So he got popped for gambling, and he's one of several players that have been popped for gambling. And boy, it's talk about, I mean, it used to be with the drug testing and everything, it was 3 strikes before you were out. This is like 1 strike, you're gone.
Yeah.
He's gone for the year. He can try to reinstate
Next July.
next year to return to the NFL. Where do you come down on the whole gambling thing? Do you have any empathy
No.
at all for the players?
Zero. I have no empathy. I have no sympathy. I have no anything athee. Athees for me, I have no athees when it comes to gambling. All of them gone out the window because it's so, to me, it's so cut and dry. Like we had this in the presentation at Fox, at the Fox seminar, the Fox, what do you call it? This Fox Summit, right? And here's what I wrote it down. It was easy in my handy dandy notebook, but I remember it because it was this easy. Like that's how it should be, right? You cannot gamble on the NFL. Boom, done. You can't gamble on NFL games. I don't care if you're betting your team to win. You can't. It says it. You can't gamble on NFL games. Okay, boom. There's one. You can't gamble inside your facility on anything, and you can't gamble when you're at a team-structured function. So you can't gamble on the bus, on the plane to the hotel, at the hotel you're staying at, that's all considered team. You can't gamble anywhere. It's pretty cut and dry. It's plastered in every locker room. You watch a video before the season. Like, to me, this is an idiot test. And you failed the idiot test. Like, you're either a gambling degenerate if you can't follow those rules, or you're a moron. There's only 2 categories. You're a degenerate or you're an idiot. And you failed the idiot test. It's like in my day, failing the drug test in the NFL, because they told you, listen, guys, we're going to have a marijuana test, okay? And it's going to be on this date, July whatever, when we go to camp. And you're going to be tested. And that's the only time you're going to get tested all year. So they always said, when the fireworks go off, quit smoking weed. Okay? And then you'll pass the test, and then you can smoke as much weed as you want because you'll never get tested again until next July 28th.
And yet, despite that, you still had people getting popped for taking drugs, and yet they got 3 strikes before they were really, really penalized. So why? I'm not arguing with you about the idea that pro football players can't be betting on football games. Fine, I got that. To me, it just seems like, you're throwing the book at a guy who jaywalked,
right,
for his first offense. There's no leniency. There's no, hey, look, dude, we warned you.
Right.
Okay, now we're hitting you with a 4-game suspension. It's going to hit you hard. It's going to hit you in the wallet. I mean, that would get my attention.
Yeah.
Why? What I think is just drastic overkill.
Yeah,
bopping a guy for the entire year.
I think ultimately you're dealing with the integrity of the league and the way we make money and the way we market ourselves, and you're dealing with the integrity of the shield. Like, that's the most important thing. The shield is the most important thing versus the integrity of the individual. Like, hey, man, the game goes on if you get popped for smoking weed, and you're the idiot that got caught for smoking weed, and you're going to be punished for it, 3 games, 4 games, whatever it is, right? But you're talking about the integrity of the league and the way the league prospers and makes money. And if you start to look at perception, if the perception of the league is these things are fixed and guys are in cahoots with gambling, and then you're talking about killing the golden goose. And so it really becomes the perception of, hey, man, we've got this under control and this is all regulated. And if you step over the line, man, you're going to be dealt with. And so it becomes an integrity of the shield issue because it will affect our bottom line, the money.
Yeah, that's why I don't know. I don't feel comfortable you using integrity in this conversation. If you just want to say, look, this is the business model. This is the golden goose.
Okay,
and because gambling is such a huge part of our sport and has always been, and now it's even to another higher level with our involvement with all the sporting sites. But integrity, I have a hard time with the NFL saying this is all about the integrity of the game. This is a league that at many times over the course of its history has shown they're really not concerned with the integrity of the game. We could talk about concussions, and the like.
Yeah.
So I don't,
the safety and all that. Yeah.
For the NFL to get up there and say, pound our chest with morality and say this is all about the integrity of the game. Come on, this is about, we don't want to kill the golden goose that is gambling.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Just call it that.
The integrity of the way we make money. I mean, it's
All right.
like however you want to, however you integrity.
But integrity speaks to some sort of. We got this moral code that we're trying to stand by.
Right.
Come on.
But that's why they suspend you for a year, because it again, perception becomes reality. If the perception is, man, we're taking this very seriously, and even though and everything I've heard is this guy gambled on his team to win. Oh, still a year-long suspension because we've got integrity.
Right.
You know? I mean, yeah, it's about making sure that we don't tarnish the shield, and that we continue to make billions of dollars every single year,
right,
and taking that money, and ultimately you look at that money that's coming in, there's a reason the salary cap goes up $20 million a year, right? And gambling has a lot to do with that. And so, again, don't kill the golden goose. You know what? The money's still going to flow if you get popped, Johnny individual gets popped on a drug charge, right? And everybody will look at it and go, hey, you can't do that, but we hope he gets the help he needs, right? And, and like you said, the concussion issue and all the different things that have gone on, I get the player safety and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't affect the money flowing in.
Right.
And I think that really is what
and you made a great point earlier when we were doing our radio show together about how there is a difference between protecting the individual or penalizing the individual versus the league.
Right.
Because if you're talking about
it's the integrity of the league versus the integrity of the player.
Right, because you can have a player, he can smack around a woman, and he's going to get less penalized than betting $50 on his team to win a football game.
Yeah, he'll get less of a suspension for doing that.
Which seems kind of bizarre, but I think the way you define it is apropos.
And again, I mean, I think that the integrity of the league, they'll go find that guy or suspend that guy, whatever. But it doesn't stop the cash from flowing into the organization, and it really tarnishes that individuals. And look, listen, if you're a great player, there's going to be. There's more damage to your own persona than there is to the league.
Right.
And ultimately, that's the way they're gonna err on the side of let's protect the shield as much as possible.
I think if you're a fan of a team that hasn't had a player popped yet for gambling, you should feel pretty fortunate.
Yeah, because there's a lot of idiots that play in the National Football League. There's a lot of morons.
Yes.
Right. Even though you've told them everything. Well, I was on the team bus. Yeah, well, that's a team sanctioned event. Huh? What? But I placed my bet on FanDuel or on whatever. Yeah, you can't do that. It doesn't make sense. I bet on us to win. Like, how can that be wrong, right? So there's a lot of idiots.
I wasn't even betting on football. I was betting on the NBA Finals, but I was sitting at my locker during an OTA, and that's against the rules.
Correct.
Too many rules.
A lot of rules.
Easy to lose sight of things.
Yes.
Well,
it is, Mike. It is. It's easy.
Hey, everybody, run out and get your Kirk Cousins.
Yes. I think that line is that at JCPenney's?
Yeah, I got
You know what I love about JCPenney?
I just went directly to Kirk's website,
One of my favorite JCPenney quotes.
Okay,
because JCPenney was actually a real dude.
Yes.
He was a guy.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite JCPenney quotes, and I use it all the time, the best teacher is the job itself. JCPenney.
Well said.
Yes.
And the shirt proves it.
You look dead sexy. You're hot. That's hot. That shirt is hot. Hey, for everybody involved in the Stinkin' Truth podcast, we thank you for listening. I appreciate you guys so much. And we'll be back with you later in the week to... I don't know. It's all camp. There's like 4 or 5 teams in camp.
Yep. Bunch of camps. Everybody else is showing up. So
yeah, everybody else is going to show up here in the next couple of days. So we'll talk about camp and continue on with the Stinkin' Truth podcast. Thank you, guys.